Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And we have another poll that will not make good reading for Humza, Yousaf or the SNP. In fact, quite dire reading. And it shows not only that are they going to lose seats, but it shows the seats most likely to be lost. This is quite an interesting piece, and I do hope that you are interested in it, because it will throw up some obvious and some less obvious seats that are likely to go another way. Certainly, not be SNP at the end of the election. That Friday morning, there'll be a lot of people crying into their porridge. And some of them will be quite a bit of a surprise, I think. Some are quite clearly not going to be a surprise. We'll have a look at them as well. But it is a good result. We will take a look at it. But if I can ask, if you are one of the 60% of regular viewers who are yet to subscribe, please do so. We're going to be getting a lot of news now on the run-up to the election. You won't want to miss any. And it also massively helps the channel, because we are a political channel. We get pushed down in the algorithm. They don't like political channels. So when you subscribe, it lifts us up, and it means that we can push this news further and wider. And the wider people see it, the better that the truth is known. So do please hit that subscribe button. And if you're a new person as well, also join us in our search for the truth. Now, let's get into this and have a look and see how bad it is going to be for the SNP. And let me tell you, very. Here goes. So we have here every seat that the SNP will lose at the next general election, according to this new poll. And it includes an absolute Glasgow wipeout. This is stunning news. Not a single SNP seat in Glasgow, because even Glasgow, a previous stronghold of the SNP, have just about had enough of all the shenanigans, the corruptness, the ineptitude, the stupidity, the ignorance, the bigotry, the hate, but also the fact that they can't get a doctor, they can't have an operation, they're watching their children's grades at school suffer, they're seeing waste upon waste, and they don't like it. And after they fight their way past the rats and go to the shops that are all closed due to the inept running of the city by the SNP council, they're all disillusioned. They're all waking up. They're all smelling the coffee. And this will be the end of the SNP. Isn't it marvellous? Marvellous to behold. And I, for one, cannot wait. New analysis suggests the Nats will win just 25 seats when the country goes to the polls, having previously won 48 in 2019 at the last general election, spelling trouble for Humza Yousaf. It will be Friday, the day of his resignation. He will not be able to continue if it's as bad as this. He will be forced to go. There's no way he can maintain any kind of leadership, having been the guy in charge over such an electoral drubbing. Cannot wait. Humza Yousaf has been handed another brutal pre-election blow with a detailed new poll suggesting the SNP will lose over half their seats they won in 2019 at the next general election. Analysis by YouGov suggests just 25 MSPs, or SNP MPs, my apologies, will be returned in Scotland this year. If they're lucky. A little bit of tactical voting, and who knows. In comparison, Labour is set to make a strong recovery in its former heartlands of the Central Belt, including, and this is the one, taking every seat in Glasgow. SNP losses could be even worse if tactical voting plays a part, with the Nats forecast to gain 2 Tory seats. Maybe. There's also rumours of the Tories taking seats from the Nats. So it could just be the same, but different. Who knows? However, that could change if Labour and the Lib Dem voters in those constituencies opt to vote for the best candidate to beat the SNP. Tactical voting. This is where I've been saying it all along. Eradicate the SNP. Vote tactically. If you're a Labour or a Lib Dem and Conservatives are second for one election only, make it count. Vote Tory. Similarly, if you're a Tory in a Labour seat where Labour is second, if you're a Tory in an SNP seat where Labour is second, vote Labour. It's one election. Get the SNP out. Eradicate them from politics. Force them to go bankrupt because they haven't got the money from Westminster. It would break them. It would break them so hard. 25 MPs would fall well short of a majority of MPs that the SNP leader, Mr Yousaf, thinks could trigger Skexit negotiations. However, the stupid thing is, even if he got the majority of seats, Westminster would just go, no, and that would be the end of it. They may well end up as the largest party, but even with the Greens, they would not have a majority. Labour would win 24 seats according to this poll, with the Tories and the Lib Dems each win 4. And so you would possibly have a Labour Tory or a Labour Tory Lib Dem even majority that would give it would be the coalition of hell, if you like, but it would be the coalition of government because they wouldn't be able necessarily to rely on the Greens coming in to give them a majority, and so it could be that would be the way to do it. It's going to be very tight. The poll has been described as the most authoritative so far. It's the biggest, best poll so far. It's the most accurate poll so far, and that is why it's going to be horrendous for the SNP in general, and Humza Yousaf in particular. This will be the poll that shows him how long he's got left in his job. YouGov's MRP method correctly forecasted the 2017 and 2019 elections according to the Telegraph. And it comes after the man who was one of the masterminds behind the campaign to leave the UK in 2014, my apologies, admitted focus on independence had waned. Stephen Noon has said things had changed dramatically in Scotland, with Nicola Sturgeon's court defeat in her bid to force a second referendum one of the reasons, because they know they can't do it. They know that they do not have the power. No matter what they do, no matter what they say, no matter how they present what they're presenting, they do not have the power to do it. It is a dream. It is a wet dream. It's a Marxist one-party state wet dream. And it isn't going to happen. And the people of Scotland know it. And the people of Scotland don't want it. They've looked at the SNP and they go, no thanks. Speaking to BBC Scotland, he added, we've gone through a period where the referendum was the central political focus. The energy was around a referendum. And then, because of the Supreme Court decision and Nicola Sturgeon stepping down, political energy has switched. And so people's focus is less on those who vote to get for a referendum, because that is not the immediate horizon. People are focusing more on things like who will be the next UK government, what the SNP's record has been in Scotland. And so the job for the SNP is more difficult. And of course, the last thing the SNP ever want to do is point to their record, because their record is so appallingly bad. Mr Noon said Scotland was set for a more normal political period, adding the SNP was not likely to win 50% of the vote and over 90% of the seats as they did in 2015. Not a chance in hell. Boundary changes mean there will be fewer consistencies contested in Scotland this year, but using notional majorities, the SNP is on course to take just 25 seats, maybe, compared with 48 in 2019. Since then, 2 SNP MPs have defected to Alba. Angus MacNeil sits as an independent. Lisa Cameron defected to the Tories, and Labour won the Rutherglen and Hamilton West seat after Margaret Ferrier was given the boot by voters. And we covered that in depth, and that was a marvellous result. And I sat there that night, as I suppose many of you did, and we watched that result, and we saw the face. Well, first of all, we saw the face of Dame Jackie grinning like that. And then you saw Brown's face, and it was as grim as, it was just awful. But he had to try and put a spin on it, and there was no spin to be had. Biggest defeat ever. One of the biggest marginal swings ever. What could he do? And it isn't going to be the last one. Anyway, we've got here the list of those seats likely to be lost. Some of them, obvious, but all Glasgow, east, north, east, south, southwest, the west. Right, all of them gone. Not a Glasgow seat. All Labour. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. Bathgate and Linlithgow. I went to Linlithgow. Only because that's where Scotty will be born in 150 years' time, 200 years' time. 200 years' time. 22, isn't it? He's going to be born. Anyway, So obviously all the Glasgows are there. Now there's some I'm not surprised. The Healing and Anir here, which I'll highlight there. I'm not surprised that's gone. That's Angus MacNeil. He's now sitting as an independent, as mentioned. So he won't. He's not likely to win. Although he's strangely popular on the island, but I think the general malaise with the SNP may do for him. Although he's a bloody awful human being, isn't he? But there you go. So I'll put them there. I won't sort of highlight and go through all of them, but if I leave them there, you can pause the video and see. All these seats are likely go to Labour. We'll come up from Glen Rothers. There we go. All of them, all likely to go to Labour. But it's, Brother Glen. That's not going to be a surprise, is it? But yeah, that's a lot to Labour, and that is done without any tactical voting. So people, please look, vote tactically. It doesn't take much of a swing in some of these seats, and you can get rid of his army, and with it, get rid of him, because he cannot sit there on that Friday morning looking at such a major defeat and do anything other than admit he's been a complete and utter failure who's failed to deliver for the SNP, failed to deliver for Scotland, and he needs to resign, not just as leader, but as a politician, and go back to the call centre whence he came. I'm coming up. What is standing out for me is the fact that the whole of Glasgow has gone, wiped out. He is a Pollock MSP. He'll be sitting there in Glasgow, looking around and going, where's all my mates gone? Not a single one. All gone. Surrounded. A sea of red. A little yellow man in a sea of red. Unbelievable. And it couldn't happen to a nicer man. Or a nicer party. The party is over. People are waking up. And there is a reckoning. And that reckoning will be the final destruction of the SNP. And that stupid, mad push for independence. And whoever gets in, hopefully, can start doing something that is good. Not going to say it's going to be successful, but at least it'll be done without the lens of independence. And who knows, by luck, some things may just work. That'd make a change, wouldn't it? I'm going to stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit that subscribe button. It is massively important. Leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well. And let's look forward to what we can now all agree to see is a convincing defeat for the SNP. First at the GE, then at the councils, and then at Holyrood. And hopefully sanity will be restored. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Goodbye.